Reach behind you and press your thumb into the small of your back. That tight band of muscle you just found? Your ancestors had one too, and for roughly 300,000 years, they slept on dirt, stone, and grass, without a single complaint we can find in the record. No mattress, no pillow, no lumbar support. You spent maybe $700 on a bed designed by engineers, and you still wake up stiff. They slept on the ground and got up ready to walk 15 kilometers. So what did they know about lying down that we forgot? The answer isn't one thing. It's a chain of things, and the bed is only where it ends. Start with the ground itself, because it was never as soft as you're imagining, and never as hard either. Hunter-gatherer sleeping surfaces show up again and again in the archaeological record as constructed things. At Border Cave in South Africa, researchers led by Lynn Wadley found bedding made of layered grasses and sedges dated to around 200,000 years ago. Under it, ash. Deliberately laid ash, because insects don't like crawling through it. So the picture of a caveman flopping onto rock is wrong from the start. These were engineered surfaces, maybe 30 centimeters of compressed plant matter, firm underneath and giving on top. That's the part that matters. Firm underneath. Your spine has an S-curve, and that curve is stable when the surface pushes back evenly across your whole body. Grass bedding pushed back. But here's the strange part. Even people with no bedding at all, sleeping on packed earth, don't report the back pain we do, which means the surface was never the main variable. So if the ground isn't the answer, look at what happened to the body before it lay down. A Hadza adult in northern Tanzania averages somewhere around 10 to 15 kilometers of walking a day, tracked with GPS units by anthropologist Herman Pontzer's team from 2010 onwards. Their hip flexors get lengthened thousands of times daily. Their glutes fire constantly on uneven ground. Their spinal stabilizers are never idle for more than an hour or two. Now compare your day. You sat for 8 hours, then you lay down for 8 more. That's 16 hours in roughly 2 shapes. The muscles that hold your lumbar spine in place have gone quiet, and a quiet muscle shortens. Then you get into a soft bed, and the bed does the holding for you. The relief is real. It's also the problem. Your back doesn't hurt because you sleep badly. It hurts because you spend the other 16 hours doing something your spine has no ancient instruction manual for. And what happens overnight makes that worse in a way nobody warns you about. Here is the thing that surprised me most, and I want to say it plainly before I explain it. They almost certainly didn't sleep the way you do. Historian Roger E. Kirch spent 16 years combing court records, diaries, and medical texts, and found over 500 references to a 2-part night. First sleep, then a waking period of 1 or 2 hours, then second sleep. It's in Chaucer. It's in depositions from 1600s England. Psychiatrist Thomas Vare tested it in the early 1990s at the National Institute of Mental Health, putting volunteers in 14 hours of darkness a night. Within weeks, their sleep split in 2, with a quiet gap in the middle. So the ancient night was not 8 hours pinned in one posture. It was 2 shorter blocks with movement between them. People got up, tended fires, talked, which means the body changed position, stretched, reloaded. And that gap in the middle turns out to be doing something for your spine that nobody designed a mattress to replace. Because here is what happens to your discs while you lie still. Your intervertebral discs are mostly water, and under the load of standing, they slowly compress. Lie down, and they rehydrate, swelling by a measurable amount. NASA has documented astronauts gaining around 3% in height during spaceflight when spinal loading disappears entirely. On Earth, you gain roughly 1 to 2 centimeters overnight, then lose it during the day. Now think about what a swollen disc means. It's larger, stiffer, and under more internal pressure than at any other point in your 24-hour cycle. Researchers have found disc bending stress is highest in the first hour or 2 after waking. And what do you do in that window? You sit up fast, hunch over a sink, bend into a car. A Hadza sleeper wakes into a squat, stands, walks. You wake into a chair. Same swollen discs, completely different first move. But there's a posture question underneath all this. and it's older than any bed. Watch how people sit when no furniture exists. In 1955, Gordon Hughes published a survey of over 100 human societies and cataloged more than 1,000 distinct resting postures: deep squat, kneeling, cross-legged, side-sitting. The point isn't which one is correct. The point is the sheer number. A body that cycles through 20 resting shapes in a day never loads the same tissue twice in a row. Your body has about 3: office chair, sofa, bed. Physiotherapists have a phrase for this, and it isn't complicated. The best posture is your next posture. Ancient humans got that for free because nothing they owned was comfortable enough to stay in. And notice the trap in that sentence. Comfort is the mechanism. The reason your spine tolerates the sofa for 4 hours is that the sofa never sends a signal urgent enough to make you move. Discomfort was ancient physiotherapy, delivered constantly, free of charge, which raises the obvious objection, and it's a fair one. Surely the bed still fixes more than it breaks. Let's actually test that, because beds are much younger than you think, and their early history is not a comfort story. The oldest known elevated bed frames come from Egypt, and the ones recovered from Tutankhamun's tomb, sealed around 1323 BC, are wooden platforms with woven cord decks and a headrest instead of a pillow. Not a soft slab. A tensioned surface, low give, with the neck supported on a carved wooden crescent. Roman beds, the lectus, used leather straps or rope webbing under stuffed sacks. The mattress, as a thick-sprung cushion, is essentially industrial. Inner spring designs were patented in the 1870s and only became a mass household object in the 20th century. So for the first 99% of our time as a species, and most of recorded history after that, the sleeping surface was firm and the body did the shaping. In under 150 years, we swapped that for something that shapes the body instead. And when you soften the surface, something specific happens to the muscles that were doing the work. They stop. That's the whole mechanism, and it took a long time for anyone to test it properly. A well-known trial, published in the Lancet in 2003, run by Kovacs and colleagues in Spain, with 313 patients suffering chronic low back pain, compared firm mattresses with medium firm ones over 90 days. The medium firm group did better. Not the soft group, not the plank, the middle. Firm enough to hold the spine's curve, soft enough to let the hip and shoulder sink. That's almost exactly what a bed of compressed grass over packed earth does. So the ancient sleeping surface wasn't primitive. It landed on the answer that a randomized trial took 300,000 years to confirm. And yet, the modern bedding industry spent decades selling extremely firm as the medical option and extremely soft as the luxury one, which means most people have never slept on the surface their own study group preferred. But the surface is still only half of it, because there's something we removed from the night that has nothing to do with the mattress: temperature. Your core body temperature has to drop by about 1 to 2 degrees Celsius for deep sleep to consolidate, and that drop is driven partly by the environment. A grass bed near a fire in a rock shelter is a specific thermal situation, warm at the start of the night, cooling steeply by the early hours, exactly matching the curve your hypothalamus expects. A 2015 study by Jerome Siegel's group at UCLA fitted sleep trackers to the Hadza-san and Tsimane peoples across 3 continents. They found none of them went to bed at sunset. All slept around 6 to 7 hours. And the strongest predictor of sleep onset wasn't darkness. It was the falling temperature. Now think about your bedroom, held at a flat 21 degrees by a thermostat, all night, every night. The signal is gone, and when the cooling signal disappears, your deep sleep phases shorten. Deep sleep is when growth hormone releases and connective tissue repairs. So the bedroom that feels most comfortable is quietly cutting the repair shift your back depends on. There's one more thing we took away, and it's the one people find hardest to hear. Ancient humans almost never slept alone. Sleep in forager camps is a group activity, and Siegel's Hadza data recorded that at any given hour of the night, someone in the camp was awake. The band effectively ran a rota nobody organized. That means the sleeping individual was never the security system. Your nervous system still runs the old software. Sleeping alone in a room with a door, your brain keeps a portion of itself on watch. And researchers call the version of this seen in labs the first night effect, where one hemisphere stays lighter than the other in an unfamiliar place. Light sleep means less muscle relaxation. Less muscle relaxation means the paraspinal muscles you spent all day tensing never fully release. You wake up stiff, blame the mattress, and buy a new one. The mattress was never the defendant. And this is where the whole chain closes, because there's one thing about that grass bed at Border Cave nobody has mentioned yet. It was burned. Wadley's team found the bedding was periodically set alight, on purpose, and a fresh layer laid over the ash. Roughly every few weeks, the bed was destroyed and rebuilt. Nobody slept on the same surface for 20 years. Now look at yours. Same mattress, same side, same shoulder, same hip, 3,000 nights in a row. We think we invented the bed to solve sleep. What we actually did was take a surface that was rebuilt constantly, in a night that was split in two, in a camp where someone else kept watch, in a body that had walked 15 kilometers, and we removed every one of those variables except the softness. Then we called the leftover thing an upgrade. Your back isn't failing. It's holding a shape it was never asked to hold, for longer than it was ever asked to hold it, on a surface that stopped asking anything of it at all. 200,000 years of grass and ash figured out the balance. We patented a spring and forgot the rest. So tonight, when you lie down and your spine sends up that small, familiar protest, understand what it's actually saying. It isn't broken. It's just waiting for a night that no longer comes.